Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal, where we cheer you on for your most empowered and exquisite lives. I'm Julia Ananda, your host, and I'm here with Gene Key's guide, Margaret Miller. We're bringing through the weekly energy insights, including finding your own unique style and lowering the priority of other people's opinions. Margaret, I'm so interested in this discussion, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Thank you, Julia. I am as well. This is very, very important, I think, bringing through an awareness of where we slip into mediocrity, where we allow ourselves to be kind of directed and ruled by the opinions of others, and different ideas and ways to help us develop our own unique style and to really trust in the flow of our own uniqueness and creativity, and and to really touch into that energy of exquisiteness. And I'm just kind of cheating here because I'm using the keywords of the gene key of this week as I begin here. And so as I go through these insights, what I am doing is reflecting on the energy of the gene key of the week. And then I'll be also bringing in the Sabian symbols that are associated with this gene key by virtue of their position in the zodiac.
Yeah, it's so powerful how you weave together the wisdom from the gene keys and the Sabian symbols for the energy of the week for us.
Thank you. Yeah, and so as we look at this, it's gene key 8, which is the shadow of mediocrity, the gift of style, and the Siddhi of exquisiteness. And so just kind of feeling into this right away, that the word mediocrity and the energy around it is just, you can feel it, and we see it. We live in a world that has sort of, and our society has led sort of the mass majority of people to, in a way, live mediocre lives, because of the requirement. And there is a requirement when we live in a community or we live in a society to conform to certain standards and rules and guidelines and so forth, and so it is a necessary thing to have some continuity. But the level to which this has happened and the level to which we are sort of indoctrinated through our early lives as children, in our own families, as well as and their indoctrination into the societal norms, and our formal education, which really, in many cases, has caused us to just sort of regurgitate facts instead of finding ways to innovate and to be creative and to, and it has led us to this very, I think, in a way, sad state of mediocrity. And in our individual lives, that mediocrity kind of shows up in our fear of not being accepted, or our fear of rejection, and the fear of standing out, and being thought of as strange or weird, or a freak somehow. Really, these are, that's maybe sort of harsh words, but it's a harsh energy. That shadow is a harsh and the fear of judgment. And so just like all of the shadows, right? All of the shadow states are coming from fear. And so when we stay in that comfort zone of I'm just going to toe the line, we gradually sort of drop our dreams, right? And we there's a couple of different ways that this shows up. And Richard Rudd in the Gene Keys books always talks about the repressive and the reactive natures of each of the shadows. And this one that he calls the shadow, the repressive nature, wooden, which is an interesting term. And it's sort of like, I'm doing things by rote. I am, I go to work, I do my job, I come home, I mow the lawn, I do the things to keep the status quo, and I live a life that nobody could find fault with in terms of I'm this upstanding member of society, and I wear the right clothes, and I drive
Yeah.
the right car, or whatever that is.
Boy, can I feel that energy when you go through each of those descriptors and scenarios. Yes, I can really feel that.
Yes, I figured that you would understand what I was talking about. And so as we look at this and just sort of acknowledge that, right? We acknowledge that we all have this. We all have this this we have both. We have this need and desire to fit in at some level, and we also have this incredible uniqueness and desire to express our lives from our own unique perspective, and to live a life that reflects that. And so what happens to us is either this wooden life, this wooden expression in our lives, where we're living a life that doesn't reflect the truth of our being at all. It instead reflects sort of societal or parental or who knows whose expectations of us. I mean, it could be so deep and unspoken. It could be from ancestors, eons ago that started that chain of fitting in to survive, And so and then the reactive part of the, sorry.
Just start that sentence again.
Yeah.
So reactive.
The reactive part of this shadow is called artificial, where we may appear to have our own style, and we kind of go out of our way to stand out in some way, and to really maybe even cause people to react to us in a way that's not positive, or positive or negative, right? That's going to cause a reaction, but it's not really necessarily an expression of who we are. And so that's where that artificial style comes in, because style, when we come to the gift, is not about the clothes we wear, or the car we drive, or the house we live in, or the way that we or even the job that we have, or anything like that. It's more of the free flowing of our creativity out into the world without fear of the consequences of being rejected or thought of as strange or weird, which if each of us, did that, then that this shadow of mediocrity would disappear, because we would recognize that even that uniqueness of our own lives is just this exquisite part of the whole, and it's just a contribution, and it's not a threat, because this is what happens. Society sees our unique expressions as a threat to the status quo, right? It is. When somebody speaks out in a very unique fashion, we can only let that happen. It seems like in the way the world is set up right now, if you're an artist or a musician or or in high fashion or something like that, where it's okay to stand out in some really sort of shocking way, or something that is so different from other people. But if a lot of people were doing that, then there would be this far as the structures and the systems are concerned, that would be chaos.
Mhm. And if everyone expressed their own uniqueness and there was an ease and flow with that expression, then we would celebrate other people's ease and flow of self-expression and support them and cheer them on.
Right, right. Whereas when we're in this loop of and feeling that mediocrity in our own lives, it's very threatening. And so we can take that on. We can take it and take that in individually. Like, where are we compromising ourself and our own authenticity because of the fear of other people's opinions, or where are we kind of expressing ourselves in an artificial way that doesn't reflect, because we know that we'll get a particular response. And I really like thinking about this in terms of the gift of style and what that comes into. I really want to kind of move to that. I'm just looking at my notes here for a second, because there were a couple words that came in, or a couple phrases, and the one of the phrases in the Gene Keys book is a rebel with a cause. Okay, and so that gift of style is more about like that rebellious spirit that says, no, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to do this my way, because I have something important to express here, through my painting, through my writing, through my work, through my self-expression, through my words, whatever that is. And so it's always, when it comes through in its true style, it's coming through because the person has surrendered to the flow of their creativity, with no regard to what the outcome is, right? With no regard to whether it's accepted or not, and with no regard to what other people think, with no regard to whether they receive fame or fortune by it. There, and this is another reason why we see it and really identify it when we look at artists or musicians, and their works, and how oftentimes the really, truly great artists don't receive the compensation or the fame and the fortune in their own lifetimes even, and they receive it after, when somebody recognizes afterwards, and they are seen as outcasts or very strange and eccentric people. And oftentimes they really truly are, because they are under the influence of the creative urge, right? Instead of, they're not controlling their creativity. Their creativity is controlling them. and so I love looking at style that way and feeling into that, and what that might be for myself, as well as, just how that would be if people were really, really looking at that. And that's always been something that I think the gene keys really speak to, is finding your own genius, finding your own, purpose, and so forth. And astrology and the Sabian symbols, it's like, this is how we can, one or several ways that we really can begin to know ourselves enough to give ourselves permission to really live our own creativity and our own lives. Even those of us who spent most of our lives thinking that we're not creative, which is hilarious, because all of us are in one way or another. And so then when we think about exquisiteness, the word is exquisite, isn't it? The exquisite is exquisite. It's another word like quintessence. And it really does follow, because that was the last gene key that we were talking about, was the Siddhi of Exquisiteness, which is gene key 23. And I'm sorry, that the Siddhi of quintessence, which is also exquisite, right? And so this exquisiteness of the 8th gene key is holographic, in that, and all of the gene keys are, because it's referred to as your hologenetic profile, right? And what is meant by that is that, like, each of these energies, each of these cities especially, is, it's easy to see how the Siddhi of quintessence would have this energy of exquisiteness, right? Because when we uncover that absolute essence of something, or of who we are, you could just feel the exquisiteness of that. And so the title for the gene key 8 in the book is called The Diamond of the Self. Okay, and remember, we're sort of talking about the jewel, and that the unfolding or uncovering of that jewel within the self. And so this exquisiteness is about that diamond of the self, and so that begins to unfold in our lives as we allow the divine to begin to shine through our being, as we allow that diamond to begin to shine through into our lives, and into our words, and into our actions, into our contemplations, into our, you keep thinking about just looking out at the world through the eyes of love, because then, this is what happens. We see ourselves as that beautiful diamond, and we see everybody else as that beautiful diamond. And that what I think it's Indra's web or Indra's net, right? That has a diamond, all of these diamonds connected in a web. And so that we are, even in our uniqueness and in our diamond self, we are sort of beyond that. Our being is beyond that and can see the connectedness of all of those diamonds, making this whole universal consciousness and this exquisite existence of all that is. So
when we see that and we start to uncover it, it changes our thoughts, and then it changes our emotions, and then it changes our actions, and our whole connection to this life is adjusted and lifted up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, yeah, just feeling into that energy. This is another thing that I like to remind us with each of these cities is that they are to be embodied, right? It's not about trying to get there, because you can't get there from here. It's about embodiment, and so allowing ourselves to take even a moment and finding the exquisiteness of what exquisiteness feels like in our own body and in our own life, and 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 recognizing that we do have that diamond of the self inside of us, and holding that awareness. It does, like you said that beautifully. It causes us to perceive things completely differently, ourselves and everybody else, and it's powerful. It's very powerful. So now I want to look at the Sabian symbols that we're uh, moving through this week. And the first one we talked about, the first one that's associated with Gene Key 8 is also associated with the very end of Gene Key 23. So this one is Taurus 25, and it's a vast public park. Okay, so we talked about it a little bit in the last video, but so it's finding this cultivation of the natural world, right, and sort of taming of the natural world, but it's for the purpose, the cultivation of recreation and enjoyment and so forth. And so it has both, right? It can have this energy of style where if you think about the gardener or someone cultivating a beautiful garden of that's a park or an arboretum or something. It's like the taming of the wild to a certain extent, right? And if it's done really well with an incredible amount of style, then it combines the beauty and the divinity and the wildness of nature, as well as the the talent and the creativity of someone cultivating the plants and the gardens, or making topiary, displays, or whatever it is. But you can also see it as, the conformity or that mediocrity. If, when you think about people manicuring their lawns just so, and the distress that the whole neighborhood goes through, if the lawn isn't mowed, if somebody has a garden full of wild plants and, oh, those terrible dandelions, which actually are such an incredible and necessary part of the ecosystem, right? They are the first food of the bees and so forth. Don't get me started. Anyway, but you can see how that can be either, right? It can be confined to that shadow of conformity, or it can come into this incredible style, and at its highest expression can be absolutely exquisite. So I just think it's a beautiful symbol for this gene key as well.
And I think it's absolutely fantastic when we're talking about this image of the manicured lawns that you have this beautiful picture of grass behind you in its wild state. It's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I think we both, and you have these incredible flowers behind you. Yeah, it's
Garden images.
you'd think we uh we planned it that way. I didn't. Okay, so Taurus 26, a Spanish gallant serenades his beloved. Okay, so here we have the energy of, well, in Dane Rudier's description of this, he says the ritualization of individual desires. Okay, and so there is that conformity and that energy of sort of having to compromise, having to um, having to express oneself in a way that is socially acceptable, right? And so the Spanish gallant, he's going to woo his love in a particular manner that's socially acceptable, right? But at the same time, he's going to express himself and his love through that song, through those words, through that music, and so then has this avenue for that expression of love, that expression of the creative urge, and that um, that also is such a beautiful symbol for this, I think, and it gives us this image of how to do both, because we do have to, and it doesn't have to be mediocre, right? If you're going to do something that is this expression that has to stay within sort of the social norms or whatever, you can still bring your own style into it, and this is the truth of a lot of our lives. Not everybody can go out and completely change everything right here and now, and follow their lifelong dreams. I think we all can. So, but that's a whole different. Maybe it's a different conversation. But it may not be practical for us, and it may not be in our best interests to drop everything and move into our truly creative life all at once, because it doesn't happen that way. It unfolds as we unfold, right? And we have this, it was sort of like, don't quit your day job, right, until the night job pays, you know. And so that energy requires a balance, right? But we can, this is where I was going with this, by the way. I started going off on a tangent. we can find ways to express our uniqueness in small ways and to continue to just put it out there and to follow it, continue to follow it, even if it's only a little portion of our day at first. We can kind of allow ourselves that. And that reminds me, so please remind me at the end, Julia, to bring in Rosie Aronson's Wisdom Keeper for this gene key at the end, because there's something really beautiful and powerful in it. I mean, the whole thing is beautiful and powerful, but yeah, that talks about this. So let's go on to the next Sabian symbol. An old native woman selling the artifacts of her tribe to passersby. This is Taurus 27. And so here we see this sort of like peaceful adaptation to the collective needs. The woman is selling the artifacts of her culture, of the art and the craft of her culture, which has a particular style, and that is a style, right? That's something that is a truthful expression of her people, and it can be this exquisite. You can see how, certain, like I'm thinking about the Dene and the beautiful weaving and the rugs of the Dene people, the Navajo, and how there are sort of guidelines for the how they weave and the symbolisms that they tend to use that are traditional. But within that, as these incredible artists weave and they become the grandmothers, and they've been weaving their whole lives, this exquisiteness of their being just is woven into every single yarn, and the incredible art that comes out, the exquisiteness that is just expressed through that is incredible. So I don't have any problem associating that with this eighth gene key. Sometimes it's a stretch because it's not a direct correlation. I'm just making the weave in there, so so to speak.
That's really a beautiful example of what you've been talking about, of being part of a culture and part of a heritage, and yet also being able to fully express their own unique style within that structure. It's a really beautiful example.
So then the Taurus 28 is a mature woman, or here it says in the original, it says a woman past her change of life experiences a new love. And so in this, it's like this capacity to love again and to recognize the beauty of relationship and to recognize our own beauty even as we age, and to recognize that we are that we still attract each other, right? And that we're still exquisite, that we still have this potential to be exquisite even as we are older. And it's sort of like the beautiful stories of people finding each other, in their golden years, so to speak, um, and really they have developed, in order for that to happen, in order for them to be open to that, they can't conform anymore, right? Because that would, because the society kind of has this idea that love is for youth and love is for, you know, for just for the young people and for the but it's not, it's for all of us. And so they would have to have, and they will have developed their own styles as well as their own mediocrities, right? You would imagine, but you can kind of feel that energy of that, how that could be exquisite as well. Then the next one, Taurus 29, two cobblers working at a table. And so this also has this energy, and in one of the descriptions, it's two old garrulous cobblers, right? And so they have their own, each of them has their own way of working. They have their own style. Maybe they, and it's talking about our understanding and developing a very mature and a very mature understanding. And the reason I say that is because, in the original interpretation of this Sabian symbol, it talks about the feet as representing understanding, right? We're understanding, right? Standing under understanding it. And so it is, so the feet then representing how, and representing our stance, right? Our stance in life. And so how we decorate our feet and how we protect our feet, and so each, one of the cobblers might have this real flair for the dramatic and, design these incredibly wild shoes, and the other one is completely all practical and no, nothing fancy, right? And so there's this, and it's an art and a craft, right? And so they have developed their style, and hopefully by the time they're old have come to this exquisiteness in their expression. So then the next one, Taurus 30, a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. So peacock, the personal display of inherited gifts. Okay, the personal display of exquisiteness. The personal display. This is a peacock, doesn't have a problem going out there and displaying his beauty and his colors. And in fact, he does so with style. And so, and it's very much a symbol of exquisiteness in a lot of cultures. It's very much a symbol of that exquisite nature. And I also see it as this symbol of, I'm thinking of the eye of Horus, or the eye, how the eye and the quintessence of things, because in the peacock's feather, that eye that is displayed, the thousand eyes. Then it kind of shifts gears now, because we've come to the end of Taurus, by the end of this gene key, by the end of this, the week that this encompasses. And so then we move into Gemini. And Gemini, so we move out of Taurus, which is an earth sign and very grounded and fixed earth sign, and into Gemini, which is an air sign, much more mental, much more concerned with inquiring and um, yeah, inquiring and communicating, and Gemini rules the third house of our communications and our learning styles, eager to learn, eager to explore and to find out and to reflect. The twins are reflecting each other, and to just have that. It's a quicker energy. The air energy is a much quicker, less less determined and structured energy than the Taurus. So in this Sabian symbol, and still relating it to the eighth gene key, is Gemini 1 is a glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders. Isn't that gorgeous? I think it's just, I don't even need to say anything about it. It's just exquisite. I can imagine it. Like I'm standing on a glass bottom boat looking at, a tropical oceanscape underneath me, you know? So, yeah, beautiful.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. And so it also has this energy of, so we're not down there scuba diving. We're in the relative safety of the boat, right? And so it has this this energy of, okay, we're sort of contained within some sort of a societal structure, but we are able to partake of what otherwise would be unattainable for us unless we are scuba divers, right? But we get to partake in that exquisiteness that way. So those are the Sabian symbols of this gene key that are associated with this gene key 8. And now I want to just bring in the wisdom keeper from Rosie Aronson and share this gift of style. Isn't that a beautiful card?
Oh, look at her style.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
I think I like it right there. Can I hold it right there for the rest of the video?
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, I want to read something too. So, um, yeah, I want to read a couple of the questions that she poses at the end. There's a whole each of these cards has a story, my gift to you, and questions for contemplation. And so all of them are exquisite, but I just wanted to read a couple of questions. So, in what ways did you learn to blend in, to be like everyone else? Where are you still blending in, but secretly wanting to leap out? What would you do if you weren't afraid of what others think of you? Is there a risk you've been longing to take in service of a passion, but you've been afraid of failure or success? What is your fear? Where can you receive support and encouragement? And how can you coax out your individual creative style? Uh, yes. I think I'm asking you those questions, Julia. You want to answer any of them?
I think to follow your spark and follow your passion. And if you want to do something, then pick up that paintbrush or the flowers that you want to plant or start singing. It's these things that we want to do that we decide, oh, I don't have time for that, or oh, I'm not good at that, instead of just doing it for the joy of it, just absolutely for the joy of it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I have that in my own life now, and I really have come to a place where, with a particular thing in my life, which is singing, that I love to sing, and I don't have a beautiful voice, but I say now I have a powerful voice and a unique voice, and so I don't really sing. So now even once in a while I will sing in less structured environments than, I do sing in some structured environments, but um, I now sing so much during my day that I consider my life to be a musical.
Oh, oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
When you were visiting us and stayed in our house for a few days, you sang for us, and we were so full of the gift of your self-expression. And my husband continues to talk about how extraordinary of an experience that was, you expressing your true self in our living room privately with just the three of us. It was magic.
Well, thank you for that, Julia. Yeah, I didn't know that. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. And that it is, this is how, and that's how that comfort zone gets stretched, like how we can sort of break out of that uh, pattern of mediocrity. I could have stayed not singing, but because I decided I have to sing because it wants to come out of me all day long, every day. It's coming out. So I sing to my horses. I sing to the trees as I'm walking to go feed the horses. I sing to the grandmother tree every morning, and I know that even if it doesn't turn into something exquisite in terms of a creative expression, that I share with others in some sort of big way, it is causing exquisiteness in my life because it's causing me to be completely authentic and to express myself uh, in in higher and higher frequencies. And yeah, so that to me is, like you said, just it's sort of like just do it, and do it in a way that at first is comfortable for you, because my horses love it when I sing to them. They'll stop and they'll kind of, their ears will be forward, but they'll kind of drop their heads. It's like the cowboys that sang that's to the cows at night to keep the herd calm, right? And so that was, they sort of allowed me that that space for expression, and it just has grown and grown and grown.
Yeah. Well, they're experiencing that jewel, that diamond inside of you radiating out.
Yeah.
So, they must absolutely love it.
Oh, they do.
They're
Yeah.
in an experience with you, like John and I were when you were here. We were in that experience with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, that is very encouraging to all of us to step into our passions and what wants to flow through us, our true self-expression. our true divine radiance. That's very, very inspiring. Thank you so much for this, Margaret.
You're so welcome. And I like that you brought that term divine radiance in as well, because that really is, it's the light of our souls shining through in whatever way it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be art per se. Like it can be the most mundane thing and be exquisite. It can be the most mundane task that we do and have an air of exquisiteness about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yes.
that all of life is divine, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
perspective of awe in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, Margaret. This was incredible.
You are so welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very.
Oh, I did as well. And I'm sure that our listeners did. Please, if you have joined us in the community, please like and subscribe and be sure to tell us in the comments the ways that you're stepping into uncovering the jewel inside of you and expressing your radiance, the divine radiance that flows through you. Thank you for joining us on the Free to Be Free portal.
See you later.